Have you ever been in a meeting and you are desperate to make the perfect point, but you're so nervous that the moment passes and you don't get the chance to speak, and before you know it, someone else has made the point you were going to make? Or another situation is where you've gone to a book launch of your favourite author, and there's an opportunity to ask questions at the end and you're too nervous to even put your hand up, let alone say anything. So if that sounds like you, then I've put together some hints and tips in today's video to share, because these are things that I've experienced over my career. And if I'd had these hints and tips 30 years ago, I think they'd have been really helpful. I got some feedback earlier in my career that I needed to speak up more in meetings, and it's something I've grappled with my whole life. My name's Lucy, by the way. My channel's called Lucy on Life, and I'm all about helping people thrive at work and in life. And I hope you're enjoying my content. Do subscribe if you'd like to. So what I'm going to cover today, I'm going to cover how to calm your nerves, because that's a key part of it, how to structure what you want to say so you get your point across, and also how to manage if people interrupt you, so some techniques to deal with that. I'm also going to share a trick I've learned in recent years, which came off with great success a couple of years ago at quite a high profile event. So I've just got some notes here, so don't mind me while I just refer to them. So the first area is about calming your body. So when we're nervous, as I'm sure you know, adrenaline starts to pump through our body and we have what's called a fight or flight response. So it's very, very ancient behaviour that we've had, you know, since before we were human beings probably. And so in order to deal with that, you know, and that's what makes your heart beat faster. It's what makes your hands feel clammy. And basically your body's trying to say you need to run away from this scary situation. So in order to try to kind of beat those nerves, the first thing I would suggest is that you take a breath, a long, deep breath. By doing that, you will signal to your body that you are safe. And it's very powerful to do that. So that's one technique. The other one, I find myself doing this, and I don't know if you do, but when I'm nervous, if I'm in a meeting, I find myself literally hunching forward. Oh, so imagine like around a board table or something. And I'm hunching forward. It's as if I'm trying to be small. I'm trying to hide. So what I've learned to do in those situations is to actually sit up tall, take up my space. Why am I hunching forward and hiding? And I find that if I do that, I start to feel more confident as well. So that's another thing that I wanted to share. So, you know, sort of try to sort of deal with your nerves by calming your body, and then your mind will hopefully think that you're safe, and you'll feel more confident too. The next piece I wanted to cover is around starting to engage in the meeting early. So rather than letting fear build up and paralyse you and let those nerves take over, start engaging early. So if somebody's making a point, signal that you agree with them by actually saying, "That's a great point, I agree with you." Easy thing to say, but what the power of that is that you're already, it's like you're off the starting blocks. You're already engaging, you're already speaking out in the meeting. So that's quite a powerful technique to use. And it's something that you can practice really easily. And just, you know, next time you're in a situation, then just try that and see how it works, and see if it sort of stills your nerves. The other piece is to sort of prepare in advance. So I used to, over many years, just rock up into meetings with very limited preparation, if I'm honest. And what I've learned to do more recently is to prepare in advance. So rather than having to think on the hoof about an idea, be prepared. And the other aspect to that is to prepare with structure what you're going to say. So there are two structures that I use that I find really helpful. So one is called the STAR model. S for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for result. So if you want to share an example of something you've done, if you share it using that framework, it helps to order what you're saying, and it helps it to be memorable for people. The other framework I use, which is so simple, is about the power of three. So that making three examples. So literally every time I make a speech, every time I say anything, I think about in advance, what are the three key things I want the audience to remember? So rather than rambling on and maybe there's a key point here and a key point there and another 5 points over there, 3 points, and sort of structure my thoughts and prepare myself in advance. And I find that those two kind of structures really, really helpful when I'm preparing in advance. And I like to think, and I can't prove this, but I like to think that it makes the points that I'm making more memorable because they're structured. I'm not rambling, and I'm building on, I'm contributing something relevant to the discussion as well because I've prepared in advance, and I'm not just speaking for the sake of speaking, which I have to say I found some other people do. So this key thing I wanted to talk about is about if people interrupt you. And I've been a politician in my past and a local politician. And so basically politicians are the absolute kings and queens of interrupting each other. And so what you will find people doing is using phrases like, can I just finish my point? Or I'll absolutely let you come in, but I'm just going to finish what I'm saying. So it's not aggressive to use those techniques, but it is assertive. So I think if you've gone to all the trouble of preparing what you want to say and you've got something relevant to contribute, don't let somebody cut across you. Even if you pause, just say, oh, I haven't quite finished. Can I just say, I'm just going to carry on with, just finish off my point. And especially if you've got those structures. So if you've already signalled that you're going to bring up 3 things and you're only on thing 2, then it's absolutely right and valid that you should be able to finish off with your 3rd thing. So that sort of use of assertion rather than aggression, I think is a really useful technique. And again, you can practice this. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You can start, and practice these techniques. So techniques to remember are use of body language to help yourself feel calm, use of preparation to make yourself be memorable. And hold your space. Don't let people interrupt you. And honestly, all of this gets easier with practice. Now, I promised I wanted to share a real life example from me. And there's an event I go to. It's every January, and it's an event held. It's the Fabian Society, which is a think tank, a UK-based think tank, and they hold a conference every January. And I've generally gone. It's a good way to start the year and catch up with friends. And I decided, so I would go to this event. There'd be a plenary speech at the beginning, and it's usually quite a senior politician. And it's a big space. If I can find one, I'll share a picture of the inside of the venue. So you're in this big auditorium with, I don't know, hundreds of people in there, and senior politicians giving a speech. But then there's always a question and answer session afterwards. And so it's great to ask a question at this plenary, and often there are journalists there as well. So you can get, that could be reported. But so it's obviously hugely nerve-wracking. And the first few times I went, I just didn't dare even think about speaking. But as I've got older, I've kind of decided not to hold myself back. But there was one year, and it was a few years ago, and I went and I was all ready to ask my question, and I'd prepared it. And I sat next to a friend, and it was quite hilarious because when it came to asking the questions, I put my hand up. And she was sitting next to me, and she literally put her hand like that over my face, and she got asked to ask her question. So it was quite funny. But anyway, so I stored that up in my pocket of memories to share with you today. And so the next year, a year later, I thought, right, I'm not going to let this happen again. And there's a reason why I'm wearing this bright green top, because as I say, this event happens in January, so it's generally cold. Everybody's wearing black and grey and drab. So I thought, right, this year I'm going to ask my question, and I'm going to be picked. So I wore this exact jumper, so it's bright green, it's very visible, and I went and sat, rather than facing the speaker where my friend had come and put her hand in front of me, I went to the side and I was up above, because there's the banks of seats to the side. It's like a lecture theatre. And so I made sure that I just didn't sit with anybody else. I mean, this might sound, who am I to, be like this? But anyway, it was like a practice, almost like a test to myself. Can I do this? So I sat kind of by myself, and the plenary speech is at the beginning of the event. So then I could speak to my friends afterwards, because obviously I'm not going to ignore my friends. But anyway, so the event happened. The speaker was Rachel Reeves. She was then the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. And when it came to the questions, put your hand up, she looked straight at me, lady in the green, because of course I'm more visible because I'm wearing the bright colour, and she can say, if she'd said lady in the black, there'd be like hundreds of people. So she picked me, and I asked my question, which I obviously can't remember what it was now, but it was very important. And so that was my little story about that. It was about, I suppose the underlying point is to make sure you prepare what you're wearing, prepare what you're going to say, and then just go for it. So if you've enjoyed this content and you find this useful, I did another video about confidence speaking to camera and confidence public speaking, which you might find useful, which I will link to. Don't hesitate to subscribe, as I've already said. I'm publishing content at least every Wednesday. And I also publish a weekly newsletter where I expand on some of these hints and tips as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.